What's up, guys? Welcome back to another recap video. Today we're going to go over the UFC Fight Night Kansas City, Garry versus Prates. Interesting fight card, really good fight card, better than I thought it was going to be, honestly. The very beginning of the fight card was an absolute banger. There's a couple fights that kind of slowed down the momentum of the whole card itself, but all in all, it was a really good card and a lot better than I thought. So we're going to start off at the bottom of the card, going over the first fight of the night, Chelsea Chandler versus Jocelyn Edwards. She smoked her. She smoked Chelsea Chandler. It's pretty much it. I mean, it's kind of something we saw coming, but it was an interesting fight. It was entertaining, but it wasn't like, whoa. But it was still good. Timmy Kwamba versus, that's all I gotta say on that one. Timmy Kwamba versus Roberto Romero. I don't know why I said Romeo there. This was a really good fight too. So Roberto Romero, I honestly thought that after watching the very beginning, like the first round, I thought that maybe he was going to get it done. Like, I thought in my mind, I saw him winning this fight, but I knew it was going to be close. But he was landing hard shots. He was putting the power on everything. And his striking is way cleaner than I thought it was, and way cleaner than I remember it was. But Timmy Kwamba had really clean striking as well. It was pretty even tit for tat. Obviously, Roberto Romero had quite a bit, not a huge height disadvantage, but he definitely had the shorter reach, and he was trying to overcome that against Timmy Kwamba. Roberto Romero looked good, honestly, but it was just Timmy Kwamba was landing big shots, which we didn't really see happening. Like, when we think of Timmy Kwamba fighting, it's like his striking's good. Does he have an insane power? Not really. But he was landing big, heavy shots against Roberto Romero in this fight, and he was stumbling him. And that's, eventually what ended up doing it. He kind of started pulling away in the second round a tiny bit, but it was more just that he landed, he was hitting Roberto Romero with really big shots and kind of rocked him, but Roberto Romero was in the fight still, and he was still working his way back into the fight, and he was still looking good. Like, it wasn't like it was starting to be fully one-sided. It was a little bit starting to lean towards Timmy Kwamba, but it was still pretty back and forth. And Timmy Kwamba hit him with a really clean shot, rocked him, dropped him, and just started going off on the ground and pound. I think Roberto Romero was still in the fight a bit. I think it was a little bit of an early stoppage, especially considering how he was taking the other ones and how he's defending and how he was still he got hit with a really clean shot, and he fell in a weird way. Obviously, he was rocked. He definitely put him down, but the way he fell, he kind of landed on one of his arms, so he had a hard time. It took him that one extra split second to start getting back up to his feet, and the ref just jumped in and stopped it. I think it was a little bit early, but it's still a really good fight and good win from Timmy Kwamba. Jacqueline Amorim versus Polyana Viana, the battle of the baddies. Jacqueline Amorim, minus 800 for a reason, dude. She literally just walked across the octagon, grabbed her, took her down, and just dominated her and submitted her. I'm surprised she didn't get submission in the first round, to be honest, but she easily submitted Polyana Viana in the second round. It wasn't much of a contest, I would say. Took her back, and yeah, dude, just subbed her. Sick to see that Malcolm Wallmaker got Performance of the Night. I didn't actually see that, but good for him. He said he's going to quit his job if he got Performance of the Night, so no more pipe fitting for the Wallmaker here. Dude, he looked really good in this fight. Malcolm Wallmaker, I haven't watched previous fights of his. I didn't watch his Contender Series fight, but I went back and watched a bunch of his IG videos and highlights and stuff like that. I didn't expect him to move this fluidly and be this much of an athlete. When I was watching, based on what I watching him in the cage, this dude is a very, very good athlete. He's very, very well built. He has a great body frame for the weight class. He's powerful. He moves really well, very fluidly, and he has good timing. He has one thing I would say about Malcolm Wallmaker in this fight, and for a first UFC fight, is he is really, really, really good with just being in the present moment, calming his nerves or whatever, and just, being focused. He's a very, very focused, very, very in-the-moment present fighter, and it showed tonight. He hit Kevin Simon with a perfect check hook and literally flatline KO'd him. It was pretty heinous. Cameron Saman, dude, he's looking pretty good at the beginning of the fight. He seems like one of these fighters that like doesn't have the power in his striking, and doesn't have the chin to deal with people like Malcolm Wallmaker. Malcolm Wallmaker pretty much just looked at Cameron Saman as like somebody like Rod Tang looks at all of his opponents, where he's like, he's not going to knock me out, and I'm going to just hit him hard enough that I'm going to finish him. So Malcolm Wallmaker pretty much just came forward and just waited for the shot, and just, I mean, he hit him with a perfect shot. He didn't get reckless. He wasn't being clean. He got hit at the same time with like a hook from Cameron Saman as he threw his hook, but Cameron Saman's, was like kind of like a slapping jab hook, and Malcolm Wallmaker just ate it to sit down on a really hard right cross and just dropped him. Or right hook, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. Cameron Saman, he's good. He's not a bad fighter at all. I think he's one of these fighters that he's going to win by winning decisions and, outpointing people. I don't think he's going to win by TKOing, KOing people very often. I just don't think he has the power for it, and I think it's a really dangerous fight for him because he's not short, but he's not tall. But he kind of has to fight like on the outside to avoid a lot of damage, and somebody like Malcolm Wallmaker doing that to him. And he's a little bit sloppy. Yes, like if you're going to be this guy that's going to outpoint people because you don't quite have the damage or the power to drop them, you either need to go full grappling, or you need to be really, really clean in the stand-up and make sure no matter what, you don't get hit with those clean shots. When he jumped in with the lead hook, and then he went to throw two straight left hand behind it. But as he's doing it, he's dropping his hands to here, like his shoulder, his chest, like he just dropped it, like hook straight, roll the shoulder. If he was rolling his shoulder or like kind of hiding behind it, I think he probably would have made it out of there. But he just threw I don't even say lazy. I just want to say an undisciplined, like straight, and Malcolm Wallmaker timed it perfectly. So. Great performance from Malcolm Wallmaker. I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of the lower level of the bantamweight division right now. I think he needs to, it's his first UFC fight. He needs to get a little bit more experience, a little bit more training in and stuff like that, but I think he'll be a problem down the line for even the top guys, I think, if it keeps continuing like this, for sure. Damal Blackshear versus Ntangeli. Dude, Damal Blackshear, I'm really stoked for him. I thought this was a great performance. He's a grappler, and his striking looked amazing. His striking in the first round was so good. Just keeping it at range, mixing it up, tons of kicks, tons of straights, 1-2s down the middle, and like really, really good variety to keep Ntangeli guessing, like nonstop. This was how I really like to see somebody strike, because he's mixing it up. He's keeping the guy guessing, and he's keeping him at range, and it's so hard to close distance against somebody like that that's doing that. Like, if you're Ntangeli, you have to do what he was doing kind of in the end of the third round, where you just like, I can't get past this range, so I'm going to have to eat at least one or two of these teeps, or kicks or straights, and I'm going to have to come forward, and I'm going to have to swing. And Damal Blackshear did a really good job of keeping a distance in the first round. Second and third round, first round he was like, I would say 70% kick heavy, and it was working so well for him. And then the last two rounds, he kind of just strayed away from it. He's like, I can box with this guy. I'm just going to box with him. And I thought there was a kind of a undisciplined approach to this fight, because before, where he would hit him, and whenever Ntangeli would try to close distance, he would either hit him with something or he'd step out. And in the second and third rounds, I think it was a little bit because he was being tired, but he was throwing a lot less kicks. And when Ntangeli would close the distance, he would stay in range. He wouldn't step out of range. He would kind of stay in range, and he would try to box with him, and he would shoulder roll, and it was working. He was doing a really good job of shoulder rolling, and he would get hit a little bit here and there, but it was, he had a really high guard the whole fight, and he was blocking a lot of the shots, or just simply getting out of the, simply moving his head out of the way and returning. But it wasn't as safe as a play as what he was doing in the first round, where he was, physically moving out of distance, or he was, using those kicks to keep range. He gave Ntangeli a lot more chances than he could have if he kept fighting the same way he did in the first round. First round, there was no, Antonio had nothing for him. Second, third round, it was still Damon Blackshear's round. He was still winning, and he was still looking really good in the striking. But he gave opportunities to Zhang Li just because he was just planting his feet. He just was being okay with, not fully moving out of range or not fully keeping Zhang Li at range. So, anyways, great win from Damon Blackshear. I thought it was a good performance from him. Chris Gutierrez versus John Castaneda. But this it wasn't a bad fight. Like, a lot of these fights on the card weren't bad at all. But this one definitely was, like, not like, wow, dude. There was a couple points. I think it was the first round, but I thought Chris Gutierrez could have got John Castaneda out of there. I believe it was the first round. He just lacked a lot of finishing potential. Not potential, just instinct, I guess. I don't know. There's opportunity to get John Castaneda out of there for sure in that first round, and he didn't quite do it. He won split decision. I mean, you look at the striking, total strikes go to John Castaneda. Takedown, there's only one takedown. Significant strikes go to Gutierrez a little bit in the knockdown from round one. Yeah, it was a pretty close fight, but I think, Gutierrez in the first round looked good with the low kicks. When he mixes up the low kicks, when he's, going first, when he's throwing these shots first, he's keeping them guessing by inside low kick, outside low kick, switching it up. He's doing really well, and he's a good fighter. But in the second and third round, he just kind of gave up, but he just let John Castaneda go first. Like, it's very hard to win a fight if you're not the one in control of the fight. And Chris Gutierrez in the first round when he was doing good, and in the fight when he was doing good, was in the moments where he was controlling the fight. He was the guy that was, for the most part, coming forward. He was the guy, for the most part, that was throwing first, whether it was just a little cheeky inside low kick to keep John Castaneda guessing, maybe a jab, maybe a switch kick. But he's just throwing or feinting first, and he's the guy that's kind of controlling the octagon range. You can still be in control if you're moving back, but it's very hard if you're just, waiting to get hit with a shot and then try to counter. I know we see these really good counter strikers, but it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to counter if you're the guy that's throwing first, waiting for them, keeping them guessing, and then when they return, you counter strike. I think, or you're using your presence to, kind of control the octagon, and then when they try to escape that area or that, like, kind of feeling of being uncomfortable, then you counter. Chris Gutierrez was just, like, letting him get hit, or just moving back, and then, oh, maybe I should do something now. Or he just wasn't doing anything in the last little bit of the round. It was a close fight. I think still I would have given it to Chris Gutierrez, but anyways. Evan Elder versus Gage Young. I've seen a couple people comment on Evan Elder's fighting style and like, oh, he's like kind of just like this slugger or whatever. I thought Evan Elder, yes, okay, he's kind of got this like Marvin Vettori-esque vibe build, and he's kind of just like, not like an orc, but bro is just, he's a grinder, and he's there to just throw. I thought in this fight he looked really good with his striking. I didn't think his striking was that sloppy. It was a little bit sloppy, but it wasn't really sloppy, as more it was just everything he was throwing wasn't very fluid. But it was with power, and the technique was, correct. And whether it was landing clean or not, they're all shots that are gonna hurt. He's throwing really good switch kicks, really good lead leg kicks, really hard punches. And even if they're hitting your forearms, that shit's gonna hurt. And he really was just there to cause damage. Like, his striking looked good. Like, it didn't look bad. Do I think it's like, oh my god, this guy's like Adesanya or like O'Malley, where he's like so fluid, he's, in and out of the way, he's looking for perfect counters? No. But he's kind of got this like gritty, like walk you down, throw super hard, kickboxing Muay Thai style. And I thought it worked well. I thought it looked good. I thought his striking was good. I think in this fight he just did more than Gage Young. His kicks were better than Gage Young, but I think for the most part, like, he just kind of out meat-headed Gage Young. Like, Gage Young, I think, is probably a little bit more technical striker, but Evan Elder just like threw twice as much, twice as hard, and just came forward for more of the fight. And I think obviously made Gage Young second guess himself a little bit. Like, shit, I have to be careful because this guy's dangerous, which you definitely do. But slowed Gage Young's kind of, rate down. And Gage Young, again, he's somebody who's had knockouts before. When you have knockouts like that, you're always like thinking to the last round, you're like, okay, like it doesn't matter, I can always land one shot. But I think you have to switch that mentality to, okay, like I'm down the first round, like I have to win the next 2 rounds. I can't get outpaced. I think that's what a lot of these guys, they're like, and it's hard when you have somebody like Evan Elder who's coming forward just throwing big stuff at you and throwing a lot at you. But I think one thing that a lot of the people that fight need to realize is that, like, if you're getting outpaced, you're gonna there's a good chance you're gonna lose a fight. And like, again, we saw Malcolm Wellmaker, Cameron Simon was outpacing him in the beginning of the fight, but Wellmaker again was looking for that shot, but it was early in the first round. Gage Young, like when you get to that mid-second round, third round, and you're still getting outpaced, and you're down now you're down half a fight, then you have to make sure, okay, you know what, I don't get outpaced in this fight. And if you get tired, then you need to work on your cardio. I think one thing too with Gage Young, if you throw more, you're going to eventually find an opening. Like, the more you throw, the more openings you're going to create. If you're not throwing and just waiting for an opening, it's a lot less likely to happen, as opposed to you, like, flowing and then, you see the opening and then you make it happen. So, anyways, great fight from Evan Elder, great fight from Gage Young. Gage Young looked pretty good for a UFC debut, but he definitely got a bit outclassed, outworked by Evan Elder. I think Evan Elder's pretty good. Matt Chanel versus Jimmy Flick. I didn't think Jimmy Flick was that bad, but maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. Dude, I thought... I don't know. I still like I have anything bad to say about these guys at flyweight, but Jimmy Flick's striking I don't think was very good. I think Matt Chanel's striking was very clean. What we saw of it was very clean, but everything was just touch with no... He has no pop to any of the shots. Like, you look at them and you're like, okay, like somebody like what's his name? That new guy at why am I forgetting his name? Anyways, he's built pretty much like Rod Tang at flyweight. It'll come to me eventually, but he's been on a little tear in the UFC. Like Joshua Van. Somebody like Joshua Van is going to be like, okay, Matt Chanel, his striking half decent, but nothing he throws is there to hurt me. So I'm going to come forward. I'm going to move a bit, but I'm just going to throw hard and come forward at him. And he's going to put guys like Matt Chanel away every time. So I don't know. I thought Matt Chanel's movement and footwork on the feet was pretty good, but it definitely needed a little bit more meanness to it. Jimmy Flick's striking didn't look very good at all. His grappling and chain wrestling looked pretty decent. I feel like Jimmy Flick could be a lot better flyweight if he, went to a gym and like worked out and like, had a fitness coach and built some more muscle and maybe some more athletic movement. He looks like he just got out of a trailer park smoking crack. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I don't know what he has been doing, but he looks like he's been eating beans and hitting the rock. So I think for him a little bit just more. Both these guys are retired. We'll see if they even fight again. But for him, definitely a little bit more just, he needs to be a little bit stronger for flyweight if he wants to grapple this much. He was doing good in the first round, but he made a couple of silly decisions in the second, third round that kind of cost him the round grappling. But I think if he was a little bit stronger and he did make those decisions, he would be able to hold people in those positions a little bit better. And he would, if he wasn't jumping guillotines and doing that kind of stuff, I think it would be a little bit better for him. But it was a really good back and forth fight. It was a really entertaining fight. The grappling was on display. It was really, I don't want to say high level grappling, but it was pretty good grappling. It was pretty high level grappling. There was a lot of submission attempts, a lot of reversals, a lot of sweeps. It was fun to watch. But Matt Chanel gets a decision. It wasn't insane. Andre Muniz versus Ikram Liskarov. I hadn't really watched Muniz fight before. Ikram is a lot more jerky and like less fluid than I remember him fighting. Like when he was fighting Robert Whittaker, although I only saw like 10 seconds of that fight, but I remember it being a little bit more. I hate using the word athletic again because I've been using it so much, but I felt like he was moving a little bit more smoothly. But in this fight, he was pretty fumbly with his striking. I found it wasn't bad. Like his striking's not bad, but it just didn't look very like fluid. But he still did a good job walking down Andre Muniz. So Andre Muniz just kind of let himself get against the back of the fence and take shots and try to return shots here and there. But I don't know. Ikram kind of had his way with him in this fight, to be honest. And then he landed a really like cheeky little lead hook that dropped Andre Muniz. I don't know how like it knocked him out because it was not the biggest shot he ate by far at all that night, but put him out. It was a really nice lead hook, actually. Faked to go to the body, and then when Andre Muniz dropped his hand a little bit, came over the top. It was really, really clean, really nice shot, and then just followed up with some ground and pound, and ref jumped in there. Good win for Bikram. I kind of called that one. Dalby versus Brown. Okay, this was see, all these fights so far have actually been like pretty good. Minus the Chris Gutierrez fight was a little bit slower, and all the other fights were good. Like even the Flick versus Jimmy Flick fight was good. The flyweight fight was still good. It was still entertaining. It was a pretty entertaining fight. At this fight, Randy Brown in this division is kind of a, I don't want to say a problem, but he's definitely a really good fighter at welterweight. He has an insane body build. He's so tall, his frame is so big for welterweight, and he's not a really skinny welterweight. He's not a Sean Woodson at welterweight. He's pretty jacked, like, and he has power. People were saying, like, does he have power before? He has power. He hits hard. And we saw it tonight. He literally broke Dalby's nose and then flatline KO'd Dalby, which no one has ever done before. I really rate Nicholas Dalby for this fight. He looked good in this fight. Randy Brown was definitely a little bit better of a striker. And, for somebody like Dalby who has to close that range, it's always going to be hard against somebody like Randy Brown. Somebody his own height, it's going to be a little bit easier for him to get in these firefights. Randy Brown in the first round did a good job of like moving back, kind of avoiding the big shots of Dalby, and then counter striking. But Dalby was still pushing forward and still landing some good shots on Randy Brown. One thing about Dalby that you have to kind of respect is that he's there to win a fight. Dalby's not somebody like we were talking about earlier who's going to lose a fight by getting outpointed. Randy Brown is never going to outpoint Nicholas Dalby because Nicholas Dalby, if he's getting outpointed, he's going to step into the fire and he's going to make sure that he either, wins by KO, he doesn't get outpointed, or he gets flatline KO like he did there. But, yeah, dude, it was a good fight. I mean, I'm sure Nicholas Dalby's was feeling it going into that second round after rallying with the broken nose in the first. I mean, after he broke his nose in the first, Nicholas Dalby came on and almost, you can say he won that first round. I think Randy Brown won the first round, but Nicholas Dalby had a really good end to that first round after getting his nose broken. And that was because he wasn't afraid of the consequences of what could happen to him, which maybe he should have been, but he was willing to make that trade-off to win a fight. And then in the second round, I think he did exactly what he had to do. He had to make it an ugly fight against Randy Brown. He had to, land something big to get some respect back from Randy Brown. And he had to kind of try to bully Randy Brown because if he just let Randy Brown stay the fresher fighter and piece him up on the outside, he was just going to get beat up for 3 rounds and lose a decision. So I think he did what he had to do. It's just unfortunate he got caught with such a nice shot from Randy Brown. It happens. I don't know. I don't know what Nicholas Dalby could have done other than what he tried to do in this fight. He just got hit with a not unlucky shot, but he got hit with a nice shot from Randy Brown, and it happens. But at least he was, trying to win the fight. This Michel Pereira fight versus Abus Magomedov sucked balls. I'm not gonna lie, this sucked. This was probably one of the worst fights I've watched in a long time. It literally looked like Michel Pereira from the very first round didn't even try. And I remember watching Michel Pereira 2-3 years ago when he was doing like backflips onto people and like some crazy kicks. I think it was at the weight class below middleweight, welterweight, but he was throwing a lot more. It looks like he didn't even care in this fight. He didn't even try. He barely threw a single strike. I don't think his gas tank is as bad as people say it is. I think Michel Pereira just, I don't know, dude. Fuck, I don't know. It was an awful fight. I don't really want to talk about it that much, but like Michel Pereira literally in the first round didn't throw a single punch, and in the second round didn't throw a single punch. It says 74 total strikes, but like when you watch that fight, like watch the fight and you'll be like, bro. Michel Pereira literally showed up to get outpointed. He's like, I know I'm not gonna win this fight. I'm not even gonna try to win this fight. I'm just gonna let this guy hit me a little bit more than I hit him, and I'm gonna collect my check and go home. It was really disappointing, actually, because he can have entertaining fights, and he is an entertaining fighter, or has been an entertaining fighter. Giga Chikadze versus David Onama, good back and forth. David Onama used the wrestling, mixed in the grappling, and kind of just beat Giga Chikadze that way. Giga Chikadze had a good first round striking and looked pretty good in the striking overall. David Onama's striking is good, but Giga Chikadze definitely had the upper hand. But yeah, once David Onama kind of mixed in the grappling at the end to steal the rounds, it was kind of just how it happened, kind of just what happened. Let's see if they got the takedowns. One takedown. Yeah, he pretty much just secured a takedown at the end of every round, if I remember correctly. But anyways, it wasn't like an insane performance, but I definitely, I gave it to David Onama. I don't know how you give performance of the night to Zhang Ming Yang for this Anthony Smith fight. I really don't understand that. But I really like Zhang Ming Yang. I think he's an entertaining fighter. I think he's actually really, really skilled and talented. He's built like a brick shithouse. And he's not a bruiser at this weight. He's a pretty technical fighter, and he mixes in elbows and all this stuff quite well. Anthony Smith just sucks. I feel bad for him because of the amount of shit talk he's got in the last week. Whenever it's an Anthony Smith fight, is just awful. But he has had some okay fights in the past in UFC. Again, the whole send out for him in this fight was crazy. He got a full on they were acting like he was prime Conor McGregor getting last fight. Dude, I really think he's mid tier. I don't even think he's a ranked middleweight or lightweight fighter for the most part. I don't know. And I think honestly, lightweight and heavyweight are probably the worst divisions out there. I think he has had some okay fights, but bro, this fight, he at the very beginning he kind of did, he kind of was out there trying to win the fight. It snowballs so fast for Anthony Smith because he's so dumb with his decision making when it comes to striking. When it comes to striking with anybody, all he does is he goes like this and tries to walk forward. You have a big ass Zhang Ming Yang throwing bombs at you, and you have your tiny little 4-ounce gloves up like this, and you literally let him hit you 5 or 6 times in the head. You can punch straight through the guard, so easy. You can punch around the guard, so easy. He doesn't even try to check leg kicks. He literally just stands there like this, lets Zhang Ming Yang hit him 5 or 6 times, takes 1 step forward, does this again, lets Zhang Ming Yang hit him 5 or 6 times. It's the easiest, I swear to God, I could beat Anthony Smith. And I'm 5'3". It's annoying. Because when somebody, literally every time you spar and every time you fight, when somebody goes like this and just covers up with no intent to throw anything back, it's the biggest gift ever. You just piece them the fuck up and then step out of range. They try to come in, you hit them with 1 shot, they go like this, do nothing, piece them the fuck up, step out of range. It's so easy to do that against somebody. And Anthony Smith literally just fights like that, and then until he gets enough damage where, he's hurt and then he gets finished. So, I don't know. There was a couple points where he was shelling, he would come forward, he would throw a couple punches, he'd get hit with some stuff, not checking any leg kicks, shell up, get hit with 3 more, and he'd try to frame and push into range and try to grab Zhang Ming Yang. But he just doesn't do a good enough job of that, and he doesn't do a good enough job defensively fighting. If he wanted to do better in this fight, he would just not stand there in range like this and cover up and let Zhang Ming Yang hit him. It baffles me. It's okay, you want to close the distance? Okay, you throw a jab and step in all the way, grab the guy or something like that. But you don't throw something, step into his range, and then stand there like this and let him hit you 5 times in the head and then not step out of range. I would even understand if you came in through a combo, blocked a couple shots, and stepped out of range. He literally just steps into range, lets himself get hit, and then steps out of range, and then stays in the range. Doesn't even step out of range. Sometimes, occasionally, when he was doing his best stuff in the fight, he was moving. He would take a couple shots to the head, and then he would try to step into range and grab Carlos Prates, grab Zhang Min Yang. But for the most part, he literally just stood it like in a perfect range to get hit and threw nothing back. Anyway, crazy. Ian Machado Ferry versus Carlos Prates. Machado Ferry gets it done. I don't know. A lot of people have this like kind of thinking to why Carlos Prates didn't do as much in the first round. My opinion for why Carlos Prates didn't do as much in the first round is because that I think he was worried he was going to get tired in the later rounds. I don't think it was because he was necessarily like trying to figure out Ian Garry or trying to like a little like Gary's movement was too elusive for him or anything like that. I think there's a little bit of like a figuring out in the first round, but I think for the most part, Carlos Prates was worried about getting tired in the fourth and the fifth, so he took it pretty easy the first 2 rounds because he really just didn't do enough in the first 2 rounds and let himself get outpointed. And then in the third round, let himself get outpointed. And then the fourth round started to build into the fight. But yeah, dude, for the most part, like I said, like these guys like Carlos Prates just have these like, really nasty KOs. And they're always really dangerous because they can finish you at any time. But if you're this guy like Carlos Prates that can finish somebody at any time, you can't just rely on that. You cannot just rely on that. If he had tried to go, shot for shot with Garry in the first round, where it's like, okay, like if Gary's going to land 1 or 2, I'm going to land at least 1, maybe 2 back. It's just, then you're not getting outpointed. I think the reason Carlos Prates, again, in my opinion, didn't do that, because I think he's capable of that. It's not like Ian Garry has, I didn't think Ian Garry had better striking than Carlos Prates. I think Ian Garry's striking looked really, really good. I think Carlos Prates was a little bit worried about getting tired. And then as the fight got on, Ian Garry got in his groove. Carlos Prates kind of got in this flow of like, okay, like these shots aren't cracking me. I'm just, I'm walking him down and I'm going to find the big shot. He was looking for the big shot a little bit too much. I think he should have just, tried to keep up with Ian Garry's pace. Unless it's a Marab, like where no one's going to keep up with his pace. Try to keep up with their pace so like, if it does, you don't end up finding that big shot and it does go to a decision, you don't lose the decision, or at least it's really, really close. Because like going into the scorecards, we all knew that Ian Garry was going to win. Ian Garry did a really good job of staying away from the danger of Carlos Prates. Really good striking, very elusive. The kicks, the lead leg stomp kicks were really good. His takedowns his shots on the takedown were really good. He was ducking and moving out of the way of a lot of Carlos's big shots when he was on the fence. Ian Garry made it very hard for Carlos to do what he wanted to do, which was land the big shot in this fight. Because whenever Carlos got into a close enough range, he shoot a takedown. He ducked a couple of... he got out of the way of a couple big shots that, like, if they were, like, any closer, we would have got clipped with them, and we'll see what happens. But for the most part, Ian Garry fought a really, really good, smart fight, and just outworked Carlos Prates, just outpointed him pretty much. And that's something that, like I said earlier in this card, you can't let happen to you. So, anyways, fifth round, Carlos Prates, I think could have finished Ian Garry. I think should have finished Ian Garry. I think if he just stood on top of Ian Garry where he was in that one position and just threw hammer fists, the fight was over. The ref was like this close to stepping in and calling off the fight. Carlos Prates literally just needed to go a little bit apeshit mode on the ground and pound and just empty the take. And he didn't. He didn't. I don't know what it was. It was just bad finishing IQ from Carlos Prates, which I didn't think was something we would see because Carlos Prates is a finisher on the feet. But when it comes to ground and pound, it's like he just didn't, like, he should have had insane urgency to get Ian Garry out of there in that last round, knowing that he was down 3 rounds, minimum 4 rounds. But he just didn't have that urgency. He was looking for like 1 or 2 like shots on the ground, but he should have just unloaded the clip. I think he would have got it done. Anyways, great win for Ian. I'm looking forward to watching him fight again. People are, saying it's a lackluster performance and like he's kind of boring. But I think it's entertaining to watch how Garry fights these guys from kind of a, this is me trying to act not like a casual, but I think it is entertaining watching how he game plans against these guys and how he is very ruthless in sticking to his game plan, because it's how you win fights at a high level. If you went out there and you just tried to like make it the most entertaining fight against Carlos Prates, I think he probably would have got knocked out. So It was a smart win from Ian Garry, and I think if you want to make it to the belt and win a belt in the UFC, you're going to have to win smart fights. Like, you can't just be super entertaining all the time. Eventually, you're going to, when it gets to the top, 5 people in the division, you're going to start losing. So, great win from Ian Garry. Hope you guys enjoyed this fight card breakdown. I know it's a little bit longer than the other ones. I kind of went on a couple rants, but oh well. We'll be back with some more. Deuces.